5 properties, 5 chances to make a great first impression. Spoiler alert, most of them flopped harder than a souffle in a wind tunnel. I toured places where no one asked my name, didn't care why I was moving, and treated the leasing process like it was a background task between vacuuming and remembering to breathe. One person had me write my info on a sticky note like we were in the middle school hallway. Another one took me on a silent tour, so awkward that it felt like I was being punished. But not all hope is lost. One community actually asked me questions, showed me an apartment with purpose, and wait for it, encouraged me to apply. Revolutionary, I know. In this episode, we're breaking down the good, the bad, and the, bizarre moments of my mystery shops and showing exactly where the leasing experience is missing the mark and how to fix it. Let's roll.
Hello, welcome to the Rooms with Ronald podcast, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington. In 2023, I set an intention to shop 100 apartment communities to see how leasing was evolving around the country. Rooms with Ronald was born out of that experience. In this series, I share my experiences and engage in meaningful conversations with other professionals in the industry as we discuss all things related to leasing and marketing. Join in as we expand the Rooms with Ronald experiment.
Welcome to another edition of Rooms with Ronald. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington, and in this podcast, we talk all things leasing and marketing. Well, it's June shop time recap. We did 5 apartment community tours, and way too many missed the mark. In today's episode, we're talking about what happens when leasing becomes passive, robotic, and let's be real, just plain awkward. I went shopping in 3 different states, and we have some stories for today. These in-person shops vary by team, so let me tell you and guide you through the journey. Some of these leasing agents needed a GPS. So grab that virtual clipboard because we're walking through each one of these experiences to show who showed up, who did it, and what we can learn from it. So we're going to kick it off with the first property I toured of the month. Now, if you've been listening this year, you know I'm not going in and telling you where I've been or what cities or states in case they give it away because I've had that happen. Now, this tour was great. I was able to book it online. There was some nice back and forth email, pretty simple process when I got there, leading up to the tour. Now, I want to use the term tour lightly because it felt more like a guided museum visit where the leasing agent forgot the lines. So I walk into this property. I was greeted by the leasing professional, and she asked if I was Ronald and confirmed I was looking for a 1-bedroom. And then it was complete silence. Now, the awkward part of this, so clearly she was aware that I was coming in. She knew my name, she knew my size of apartment, the time of the appointment, all of that. So why was she eating breakfast there? I looked. The office had opened at 9. This was a 10 o'clock tour. She was eating breakfast. So I walked in and kind of immediately felt like I was interrupting breakfast for her. And so she is like, this is like, I walk and she's like, ugh. So I could tell that she was kind of hoping I didn't show up by that. So she put it in her breakfast. I even made a joke. I'm like, I'm so sorry that I'm ruining breakfast for you this morning. I thought I'd give you enough time. Come in a little bit later. She's like, no, it's fine. Insert eye roll. Puts the sandwich into the baggie. And then we're off to the races. She collects my ID. Now, here's the problem. She never introduced herself, never asked my price range, never verified my pets. If you know, my dog Snoopy is my thing. How many people would be living in the apartment, anything like that. I did tell her I was relocating for work, and she kind of acknowledged it in a sense, like she nodded and she was like, yeah, a lot of people who relocate like this area because it's close to this part of the city, but yet it's still kind of far away. That was her acknowledgement. We didn't dive more into what you do for work. Oh my gosh, where are you coming from? Anything like that, that was non-void. There was one question, just one. As we're walking to the apartment, she was about to show me that. And she said, what's most important to you in your next home? So I answered, and then she went back to her role as a very polite GPS guiding me. As we're walking, like she's 5 steps in front of me, doesn't talk to me this whole tour. And I'm like, this is probably the most awkward tour that I've ever had. Then we get into the apartment. She shows me in. I'm seeing a renovated and a non-renovated one and things like that. And she just stands there. Just stands there and kind of lets me roam. Now, neither one of these are a 1-bedroom. So these are 2 bedrooms. So instead of describing to me the difference, she just stands there. And so I go look around, okay. So I come back out and I was like, so would you say which bedroom is going to resemble the size of the one in the 1-bedroom in the closet space? Because remember, she asked me what was most important to me and I said closet space. She did nothing with the information. So she's like, so she goes and looks at both and she's like, I would say this one. Cool. So then we're walking to the second one, a little bit of a walk, doesn't say anything to me at all. So we go up the stairs and we go in and here it is. And yet again, she is standing in the living room playing on her phone. What's up with that? So again, I'm like, okay, so which bedroom? She tells me. Now here's the deal. I was giving buying signals. I mean, the rent was reasonably priced because she told me that like when we got into there for the 1-bedroom. I asked about qualifications. She gave me the process. I said I was relocating for work. She did nothing. I asked about the renter's insurance requirement, even made a comment about I lived in other places. She told me, and that was it. There are so many questions she could have followed up with. She could have gotten me excited, painted the picture of this community because it was in a really cool city. It's actually in one of my favorite cities. But she didn't do any of that. Instead, it felt like she was just walking me to the finish line so she could go back to eating that breakfast sandwich. Big misses. No connection. When I told you I was relocating, I even talked about, I love the heat because I was in a place that's hot. Every place is hot right now, right? And kind of the difference between the heat of where I've lived at before and all of that. Did nothing with it. There was no immediate follow-up post the tour. There was no asking me to apply for the apartment. Now, this is where I'm going to give them some bonus points. They actually did call me a week later and then 2 weeks later. The first phone call was like Charlie Brown, womp, womp, womp. Good morning. They personalized a little bit. They never used my name, never said their name, just what property they were calling from and that I was looking for a 1-bedroom and I had toured. If I have any questions, let them know. The second phone call was a little bit more engaging. At least I knew the person's name that was calling in the property in the 1-bedroom. Again, if I have any questions. So we'll give them points for that. No text messaging, even though I opted in. And the emails were very static, right? There was nothing that was like, ooh, let me go circle back to them. So that was property number 1. Next up, right around the corner was property number 2. Now, property number 2 was interesting for many different reasons for me. Normally, I book the appointment online. Like I go in, I put a guest card, I wait for them to respond, and then I book the appointment this year. So I go in, I follow this thing. I get the response back that says, oh my gosh, we're so excited for you to come in and do XYZ. You can schedule an appointment online. Go to our website. So I click where it says, go to my website. I go to their website. All on my mobile phone, because I do everything on my mobile phone. Except for now, there's nowhere for me to book on the website. There's no like schedule an appointment now. And I'm clicking through the pages. So I'm like, instantly I'm frustrated. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's not mobile friendly. I've experienced this before. But guys, it's 2025. So every website should be mobile friendly because that's where most people are looking at. So I come home the next day, I go into my desktop, I log in, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm missing it. I'm clicking around. Sometimes I have to click through 2 or 3 pages for the widget to pop up. All of these different things, nothing ever happens. I cannot book an appointment online, even though the message says you can book this appointment online. Okay, not a problem. So I then I'm like going to show up. I'm just going to show up to this property because they have office hours. It says they're open. So I walk up to the property and I'm greeted at the leasing office door by the maintenance professional. And I know he's a maintenance professional because the shirt's untucked. It's got some paint on it. He's like dumping out some trash. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, well, what can I do for you? Oh, hi. I was just wondering if I could get some leasing information. He's like, oh, yeah, come on in. He gets on his walkie-talkie. He pages the person that there's someone here to talk to them. Tells me to kind of just stand over here. He then goes into the kitchen area and starts to dry vacuum something. Like it is loud. So here comes the person about 3 minutes later. We go up and she's like, oh, okay, what can I do for her? So I tell her what I'm looking for. We go through the questions. You know, she did ask my move-in date, what size apartment I wanted. And then she was like rattling off all of these fees. It was like she was reading terms and conditions almost, writing everything down. She didn't ask me about my pets, my lifestyle, my budget, if anything was important to me. And then the little bit of conversation that we did have, we had it over this maintenance guy vacuuming the property, like underneath the sink. So they must have had a leak and they were trying to get the water up. I totally understand that. But it was so loud that I couldn't think. And I only heard like every other word. She didn't stop to think to say, hey, could you stop wife? And nope, she just went on through. So she's getting through. We're going through the process. And I had done my homework. So I knew that they had 1 bedrooms available. And she said, oh, you know, I don't have anything I can show you today. We don't have any 1 bedrooms I can show you. I might have one tomorrow that I could show you. So if you could come back, that'd be great. And I was like, unfortunately, no, I can't. Like, I'm only in town today. No effort to pivot or anything like that. There was no virtual tour up front. There was nothing that she could have done. So I had to ask, like, do you have photos or anything like that? She's like, oh, yeah, I got some photos on my computer that I can email you. Here's a sticky note. Would you just write down your information? And then, you know, probably within the next hour or two, I'll send you those photos. And then if you want to apply, you can just apply on. Okay, you have them on your computer. We're sitting at your computer. We can't turn on the computer and show me the photos. Now you're going to email them to me. Okay. So I wrote down my information as I normally do. I'm like, on a sticky note. Lord knows what happened to that sticky note. And it wasn't 2 hours later. It was about 5 hours later, but I finally got the photos of the 1 bedroom apartment. And that was it. And I haven't heard from that property since. Now, I will say that property 1 and property 2 are literally like diagonal from each other. So from the time I entered property one's leasing office to the time I left property two's leasing office, including commute time, which was walking, the total tour time for both of those was 27 minutes for two properties. So what did property two miss? Well, lots of misses here. Hey, they need to make sure that their website messaging matches their email messaging. Because if I can't book an appointment online, don't tell me to book an appointment online. No prep. She had no prep. She didn't know what she could offer. She just went into robotic mode. It was like I was bothering her and she wasn't going to tour me anyways. No listening. She didn't listen to me. She didn't listen to her maintenance person. She didn't think to say, hey, I'm with a prospect. Or, hey, I'm with a resident. Do you mind? Can you stop that for like 5 minutes while we finish this up? She added zero value to the experience. Minus the fact she sent me some photos, but then she never followed up with me from there. So that was that experience. Now we move on to a different city. What's ironic is that this time I chose on purpose because I was trying to do a compare and contrast. The property I toured now, this third property was the same management company as property two, just in a different city. So I was looking to see, was the experience better or worse or the same? Again, was unable to book my appointment online, but this time the leasing professional interjected and we communicated via email back and forth. And I was able to schedule the appointment. So they knew I was coming. And it started off promising. Did it start off promising? Yes. I was greeted. I was dressed formally, maybe a little too formal for my taste, like Mr. Harrington kind of formal, not, Ronald, which is totally fine. I just wasn't expecting it. I usually expect that kind of reaction in the South, and I wasn't in the South. I was giving floor plans to review. She asked me which ones I thought. She wrote down the prices clearly, like, here's what they are. This is what it includes. I loved all of that. And then we started to fall apart at the seams. She took my ID. She didn't scan it. She didn't look at it. She just took my ID, saw it was an Indiana driver's license, and then handed it back to me. So I'm not exactly sure what the real purpose was. I mean, usually one of two things happens. They keep it in the office if they're not going to scan it, or they scan it into whatever software and then they give it back so they don't forget to give it to me. So that was like, okay, what was the point? Didn't ask a lot of qualifying questions. Didn't ask about my pet, my budget. We had talked about I had lived in this area before, and this time I was relocating for work. And kind of some of my favorite things to do at the tour. This was early on when we were walking to the apartment. But at the end of the tour, she had asked me if I had ever been out in this area before and things like that. So it was like, you weren't actively listening to what I said at the beginning, or you just forgot. And that might have been the case because, I mean, the girl was pregnant. I will give her that. She was touring in the heat, walking, clearly pregnant. But she had this moment. It was like, you could tell she was kind of following a script without really following the script. Now, there were some things that she did right. We were in one of the apartments, and we were out on the patio, and she described the patio as having a treehouse feel. Now, which was cute to me, right? I was like, it really did. We walked out into this patio and it kind of felt like you were in the trees. You had a lot of shade. You could see the branch. And that really stood out to me, that description, because no one has ever described something like that to me before. And I was in there imagining myself having coffee and selling myself like, ooh, this treehouse is so nice. Now, I love the city I was in, so I would have probably leased the apartment anyways, because it was close to friends and family and things like that. But just that was the cooking. So this is where we kind of got awkward. We didn't ask to apply for the apartment. And at the end of the tour, we go back to the office. She gives me a card. She gives me the paperwork. I grabbed the staple to staple it because I need it stapled. And she was like, so I'm going to be out next week on vacation. So if you have any questions, I'm here till 6. Otherwise, you can just call into the office if you have any questions, and they'll follow. They'll be able to answer it. If not, I'll reach out to you when I get back in a week. No urgency. No clear call to action. Just if you have questions, call the office. Someone will be able to answer. I'm just not going to be here. Now, while I appreciate she told me that, what I felt like at this time was it wasn't a team atmosphere, right? Like, I've worked in a lot of offices, and one thing that I really pride myself in is if you're out on vacation, I'm going to do your follow-up for you, especially if someone's came in to tour. To me, this office felt like, oh, well, they're not going to touch my stuff because guess what? They probably don't get commission on it. But what about me as a prospect? I shouldn't care about that. I should be able to, get a follow-up from anyone. And in case I forget, life happens. We all know this. I've been working with properties lately, and I'm having to send anywhere from 9 to 13 different follow-ups to get people in the office. And then once they tour, I'm spending another 5 to 10 follow-ups, getting them to apply. Life happens. Work as a team. Your property success is everyone's success, not you individually. Here's where they were missed. Inconsistency in memory gaps, which the personality was totally different than the second property. So that was good. We saw an improvement there. It felt like more a soft suggestion, like if you want to reach out, that's fine, than a sales experience, right? So we missed some opportunities where we could have done that. And here's the other thing about the second apartment we saw. We walked in and she unlocked the door. She goes, now, just so you walk in, this apartment has been vacant for a while, so there is a smell. But I promise, like, if you choose this apartment, we'll have that smell taken care of before you move in. And it smelled like real stale, almost like a skunk had been in there because it had been sitting. So, like, probably wouldn't have shown that apartment. Probably would have put an ozone in there because even if I did lease that apartment, I'm always going to have that smell in my head, no matter how clean it is. So always think about that. So that was the second city. So now we're off to the third city in the third state in June. Wow, I'm already moving ahead for the tour. And I like to say this is finally a bright spot. And this property brought their A game. As of right now, this is probably the property that has set the gold standard. I walked in and someone walked in right behind me and I hear, hello, is anyone out there? In an office behind a wall, can't see anything. I'm like, yeah, hi. And so she gets up and she comes and greets me. She tells me her name, that she's the property manager, and tells me to come sit down. Let's have a seat. And this is where she starts to ask the questions. She asked my move-in date. She asked my name. She confirmed my name. She confirmed my email, my phone number, what I was looking for. She asked what brought me to this area. I told her. She dug a little bit deeper, like, what do you do? Oh my gosh, what has you moving up from this way? We talked about the traffic. She told me she had another site about 5-10 minutes from this property, so she wasn't very familiar with that. She even took the time to explain the differences between two different apartment styles. One of them she had a 3D tour of, and we were able to walk through that. And she brought back the closet space and what it looked like. The other one, she just had a floor plan, but we walked through. We talked about the attached garage. She said, they're very similar. You just have to determine, do you want the space in the apartment or do you want the garage? Whatever, right? Like all of the things. And I was like, yes, please, right? We even made a joke because one of the floor plans is one of my favorite drinks, which I thought was funny. We then went, and then on the tour, there was purpose on the tour. She showed me all of the amenities. She allowed me to take my time. She allowed me to fill the space of the amenities. one thing she asked me was she asked me about my pets. I told her about my dog. We then went to the paw spa where she walked it through, and now she even acknowledged like, oh, normally it's more clean than this, but someone must have came in last night and cleaned their pet because there was hair on the rug, which I had expected in the paw spa. Now I don't know if I would have said last night. I would have said maybe a little while ago because I did tour in the afternoon. So I was like, if you've been here for 5-6 hours and you haven't cleaned this up. So that was one thing that was a little off to me, but that is good. She asked me where else I was looking before we went on the tour, though, which kind of rubs me the wrong way because it makes me think that I need to go somewhere else. So if I wasn't considering going somewhere else, then now I am, right? So I was like, okay. So I told her, she's like, oh, she didn't know the area. Now, she just didn't tour me. She actually guided me along the process, and it was probably one of the best connections that I ever had. She explained the difference in pricing. They use a revenue management system, so we were looking at move-in dates. She was telling me about the special, and my move-in date was just like a day or two past the special, so she did a really great job at trying to say, maybe it's worth it 2 or 3 days before, because they were offering 6 weeks free. And then we were going through. Now, the apartment she did show me was a model. It wasn't really clean because they're in the process of getting a AC replaced on all of the apartment communities or all of the apartment homes on that community. So they had contractors staying in there. So the cabinets were sticky and there was food in the refrigerator. Otherwise, I'm assuming they probably had just left, and they cleaned up really well, though. But she told me that, and I was like, ooh, I probably want to show it them because I touched things, and I was like, ooh, this isn't clean. So I have that in mind. But she did a really great job at kind of saying, these are the finishes and helping me visualize the differences in the 1-bedroom to the 2-bedroom. So that was a big win for me. And then we get back to the office, and we were talking about noise because where this property sits, it literally sits next to a venue, a concert venue. And I know the venue pretty well. So I'm like, ooh, how is the noise and the traffic? And she tells me about the security that comes in and helps direct traffic because now this concert venue charges for parking. And my first thought was, ooh, I could park here and walk over. And I even said that. She was like, now you don't have to worry about paying for parking because when you move in here, you'll be able just to walk across the street, which I thought was a good, assumptive close. And we got back to the office, and there was a resident in the office with a cute little dog. And she asked the resident, well, how's the noise when the concert's going on? And she's like, oh, I can't hear it inside my apartment unless I open up the windows and things like that. So I thought it was really great that she brought in a resident. She told me about the resident events that they were doing, Resident Appreciation Week, and kind of some of those things that was going on. So I thought that was a huge win. But what really kind of sealed it for me, and this is where the big win is, and I think the biggest takeaway for anyone listening is this confidence right here. She goes, now I know you said you had a couple other places you want to go look at, and I totally understand that. But do you want to go ahead and just apply for this apartment right now so you don't have to worry about it? You can still go look. They're not going to be as great as me. Whoa. Someone asked me to apply for an apartment, even knowing I was going other places. That was a big win. Other big wins was the personalization. She even sent me a text afterwards and was like a personalized text, just the overall presentation, asking the right questions, making sure I felt welcome. And she provided a clear next step. I also got a follow-up email, and one thing I would have probably done a little bit differently in this, and the special changed. And I know that they would have honored the special they told me for 48 hours, as long as the quote was good. And the special changed, and it was a little bit less of a special. So it went from 6 weeks to just 1 month. So I would have probably called and said, hey, I know you just got an email about the change in special. I just want you to know we will honor that for 48 hours. So if you're really thinking about applying, I would do it so you get the better special. That's how I would have handled that. But that's, not to say that that's the right way, because leasing is subjective. And then we get to the fifth property. Now, this property, I could not book an appointment online. I had put in a guest card and this weird message popped up and I was like, did it go through? And it did. I got an email back from the property with some great questions, which I was really excited for. And I was for sure it was a human. And I was able to book my appointment. We scheduled the appointment. She told me the time she had available. I took it. It worked out. I get to the property. I see someone dressed really nice walk out. So I'm assuming probably going to lunch. I walk in. I'm like 3 minutes early. And I'm standing in the lobby of this office in Clubhouse. And no one greets me. Now, I do hear like someone talking in the back. So I'm like, oh, they're going to come out. The maintenance professional walks in. I'm looking confused, like all get out. And he just walks back. He pops his head in to the office where I heard the voice coming from. The voice is, and they chit chat, they go. And I'm standing there for 5 minutes. Well, really like 8 minutes because I was 3 minutes early to my appointment and I left 5 minutes after the appointment. No one greeted me. I looked at the desk to make sure that I was talking to a human. AI's crazy. And I was, the names matched. And so she booked the appointment and then dipped out. Like she wasn't there for it. So I didn't tour. I just literally 5 minutes past my scheduled time. No one greeted me. I didn't know what I should be doing. And so I was like, moving on. Now, the crazy thing is that this property is offering 2 months free. 2 months free, probably because of situations like this. I waited 24 hours. I never got a, hey, we missed you. What happened? Do you want to reschedule? I got nothing. I got no follow-up. I got nothing. Those were my 5 shops this month. So what did we learn? And we've kind of learned this over the course of this year, right? Most communities are treating the leasing process like a task list, just going through the motions, not a relationship. We are relying so much on AI that we forgot about the people. And we're going to dive into this in an episode, but AI is great. That is great. AI does not sell apartments. People sell apartments. And we keep investing more and more money into this AI and getting it. Everyone's doing it. The messaging isn't the same. The message is the same. It's the same type of software. I could tell you I'm tracking the different softwares. So it's like essentially insert language for property A here, insert language for property B here. Amenities, pretty much the same property. The only thing difference is it's coming from a different number. But the majority of the people are failing to build connection, are skipping the qualifying questions. They're not painting a picture of the life of the community, and they never asked me to apply. AI might be able to ask me to apply, and they might be able to paint somewhat of a photo of the community. Like for me, they can't build a connection. And the qualifying questions, they're not really that great at it. They're pretty basic, right? So we need to invest in our teams. Because we're not just looking at a unit or a home, right? We're looking for a home, a vibe, a gut feeling, an interaction. I want to know you want to take care of me. We're just then handing them the brochures and then sitting in silence. So let me just say, we are halfway through the year and the goal is 5 a month. So we are at 30 apartments. We have actually shopped 33 apartment communities this year. We have been to 11 cities. Had to read my sticky note. 11 cities in 6 states. We've shopped 29 different property management companies. 16 were garden style, 16 were mid-rises, and I've shopped 1 high-rise. Only 4 properties have asked me qualifying questions beyond the size, when I want to move in, how many people, pets, That's it. Only 4 out of 33. We're on track to do worse this year than we did in 2023. We have mainly did guided tours, but we did do 2 self-guided tours. You can search the previous recaps to learn about that, and 1 virtual tour where no one showed up. I've been shown an average of 1.68 apartment homes, and on average, I've been shown 3 on the self-guided tours. My average tour time is 24.16, which is right on average to where we were in 2023. So we're not getting better. We're not getting worse. And out of 33 apartment communities I've shopped, 2 people have asked me to apply. Just 2. Meaning, would you like to start the application? Not the, well, if you want to, you can go online. So here are my key takeaways from this 6 months. Okay? Start strong. Meaning, your website and your AI right now is starting strong. It's answering my questions. It's allowing me to book, things like that. Now you need to keep that same pace or there's a disconnect. Stand up, greet your prospect. If you know their name, tell them your name. I cannot tell you how many times I've shown up and I not know the leasing person's name. Show excitement. We are in an exciting business. Show me that you like the property. Ask the right questions. You don't need to ask me my move-in date, my price range, unless you don't have that. Most of the time, I've already put that into your CRM through your AI, your chatbot, the guest card I've completed to book the tour, all of those things, right? At this point, you just need to confirm that's still the case. Now you get to ask questions about my pets. Everyone loves pets, right? I will talk about my dog all day. Talk to me about the people I might be moving in with, what I do for work, things like that. What are my priorities? I'm always going to talk about closet space. I'm always going to need a unit washer and dryer. Those are my priorities. Sell me the lifestyle. What does it mean to be a resident at your community? I don't care about square footage. I already know that. Ask me to apply for the apartment. You're going to hear no a lot. That is okay. But when you hear no, follow up with them with purpose and be clear on the next steps. Don't just show the apartment. Sell the experience. We have unpacked a lot. If you're listening and you're thinking, ooh, yikes, I've done some of those things, or I continuously do some of those things, that's okay. The purpose of this podcast is this is a learning space. It is a forward space. It is a reflection space. The good news is that every tour is a chance to do better. Each prospect is a story waiting to be told, and you're the storyteller. Find ways to incorporate what they're looking for into what you're offering. So get back to work and revisit your script. Treat the next tour like it's the first tour you've ever done, but now you have confidence. Because when leasing's done right, it's not just a tour, it's a performance with a standing ovation and a big fat check at the end. Listen, if you want to share your own mystery shop story with me, or you want to come on the podcast and share it for the world to hear, or hey, maybe you want to hire me to come mystery shop your team, head to roomswithronald.com. The name of this podcast.com, roomswithronald.com, and fill out a contact us form, and we will be in touch. And until next time, guys, keep it personal, keep it powerful. Let's keep raising the standard. Happy leasing. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope I left you with some fresh ideas or a new perspective. Leasing and marketing are evolving rapidly, and Rooms with Ronald is committed to offering a place to hear about those changes. We also celebrate and acknowledge the fundamentals of exceptional service that will never go out of style. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, or subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other exceptional industry podcasts, call pieces, and sponsorship opportunities.